Hey there, friends. How's it going? My name's Popeye, and we got some more Umineko Chapter 2 for you. I plan to maybe make this the last stream. I'm thinking now, with how late I'm starting, that this probably will get split into 2, but who knows? Maybe we all die in 3 scenes, and then we just have a tea party, and then a tea party with demons. So we'll see. Before we get into this game has some pretty mature themes. Just want to make sure that everyone watching is kind of aware of those, and if this is not your cup of tea, please by all means find some place you'd rather spend your time this evening. This game includes themes including but not limited to death, murder, torture.
No items.
I don't know what no items is. There's also no items. Child abuse, any of the above against a minor. Again, if that's not something that you are comfortable with, please by all means find some place that you'd rather spend your time this evening. You can't give me easy scold, Samuses, because I can easily scold you now for just wasting 5,000 channel points. I'm sure you've got a lot of points. Actually, you spend them pretty frequently. You probably don't have a lot of channel points. Shame on you for not having as many channel points as you probably should for wasting them on things like no items. I'm trying to think of what you can either refund yourself, or I can just I have to do everything by memory without opening the character profile sheet for the next, let's say, 3 minutes. I have to give the whole summary without looking at who's still alive, which will be a fun time. From this dialogue, I know Genji's still alive, but last time we went into the servants' room where originally Demon Canon had gone in, had murdered the doctor and Kumasawa-san, and then was fought off by Genji and Goda. He flies away, turns into butterflies and flies away. They go then to report this to Rosa-san. We all head back there, only to find out the bodies of the doctor and Kumasawa-san are missing. And all the servants seem like they're crazy, trying to be like, well, there was a fight here, see there's blood, they're dead, I swear their bodies were here. And then Rosa finds a letter that has both the keys of the doctor and Kumasawa. And she comes up with this theory that Canon was not dead in the previous room, where they never found his body. He was, in fact, working with them, and Jessica also. I don't think there's any. Well, I think actually no. She was thinking that Jessica might have been in on it as well, and the doctor pretending that Jessica was dead, and that there's this kind of ruse between all of them that they're going to try to kill everyone. She points her gun at the servants. Genji, being the model servant he is, says, well, if we've broken your trust, that means it's time for me to turn in my keys, since that seems to be a big issue, is that we have these master keys that can open any door. And encourages Shannon and Goda to do the same. They then take their leave and go to the kitchen. George, kind of appalled at this treatment, especially if Shannon, I don't know if he really cares about the others, but especially if Shannon steps up to defend her and decides that he will go with the servants to the kitchen, while Rosa, Battler, and Maria all head back to the parlor and lock themselves in. So, while those three are locked in, we go back to George and the servants, where George is kind of questioning them about Beatrice. Oh, and I forgot to mention that at this point, Battler's spirit is completely broken because he tries to solve the servants' room puzzle, and he comes up with this brilliant idea of let's define what is a hidden door. Because this keeps coming up that Beatrice will start with, the only way in and out is this door, this window, there's no hidden doors, blah, blah, blah. So he said, what defines a hidden door? and Beatrice says, a door that is not immediately obvious of its use. So think like a hidden bookshelf, or maybe if there was like some stones in the fireplace that you could pull apart. And then here was the key part, that lets you exit this room. So Battler goes, oh, so in other words, if there was, say, like one of those like smuggling hatches that sometimes ships would have, where you can put stuff in that doesn't leave this room because there's no exit other than the secret entrance you went in, that would not count as a hidden door. So then he wants Beatrice to say that only, and he lists all the family members that were currently there at that point, only we were present. And Beatrice is able to confirm that only the people that Battler mentions were present, and that they were the only humans present. Because, of course, she wants to be like, well, there could still be witches. So, at that point, Battler admits defeat. He's kind of like moping around, and Beatrice, after kind of making fun of him for a bit, actually, I would say, tries to comfort him, and that don't give up. You're the only fun thing that's here. Don't give up so easily. Show me that you're stronger than this. But I think Battler has essentially given up on this iteration, and we'll see if he regains his spirit at a later point there's 6 more games. Spoiler alert, I think he does regain his spirit and continue on. So then George has this idea of, hey, he's talking with Shannon, and Shannon was lamenting the fact that all of this started, she believes, because she broke that mirror that Beatrice offered George's affection and love to her in exchange for breaking it. So as they're talking about this, Genji mentions that, dang, I've forgotten a person's name. The wife of the first eldest child, who was in charge of the house but getting headaches all the time. See if her name comes back to me. That her family used to collect these kinds of anti-spirit artifacts, and that she used to keep like a little compact mirror kind of thing that could repel evil. So George is like, wow, it would be a good idea, if we could get that. And then they're like, well, if we had our master keys, we could get it. All the other keys are locked now in the servants' room, and we don't have a key to the servants' room either. And then they realize, wait, when all the adults were killed in the chapel, we didn't take any of their keys. So the key to her bedroom is still on her there. So they decide they're going to go smash a window, break into the chapel, take her key, and then go get this mirror. So they go to the chapel, they find the key, and then they're trying to leave. And at that point, in universe, Beatrice appears with her army of goat demons to murderize them. Actually, no. At that point, they're still butterflies. They're not yet goat demons. So they break out of the chapel. They make their way back to the room. They open it. And they find a jewelry box that they think has it, but they've got to, they can't find the key for it, so they got to burst open, but they have to burst open gently to not break what's inside. So George and Shannon are trying to break it open. Meanwhile, Goda is at the door being lookout, sees the army now of goat demons approaching, and is like, please hurry, guys. Then, Beatrice summons one of her handy-dandy demons, I can't remember which one, who can just walk through the door. Walks through the door, toys with Goda before killing him. And then Beatrice and the army of demons enter. Shannon awakes to her servant magic power, tries to defend them as best as she can. Oh yes, and another important note, Genji does not come with them because he says it would be wrong of me as head servant to not be in the kitchen where I promised the madam I would be in case she calls upon me. It would be, you know, like unsightly if I didn't still maintain my composure and be the best servant I could be and be available for the master or mistress in this case as needed. So he stays in the kitchen, and they're kind of under the assumption that he's going to die there because, you know, just so far anyone who's by themselves kind of just dies. However, if we read the epitaph, which is what Battler and Maria were trying to solve as the epitaph at this point, we know that the next one is 3 people need to die in very quick successive order. So that's going to be Goda, Shannon, and George. Eventually, Shannon's magic is not enough to hold off on the magical attacks from Beatrice, and both her and George succumb to Beatrice, and it's implied that they die. And now we're back with Genji, who's still alive. In the meantime, Battler and Maria are trying to solve the epitaph, but they're not really getting anywhere. And Battler is talking with Maria about how now he accepts that Beatrice is real. And Maria is quite impressed with him and is like, oh, since you've done all this, I'm sure you'll make it to the Golden Land because of your belief. So now we're going over to Genji, who I'm sure won't die, because I believe at the end of last time I counted, and there are exactly the 6 remaining people who will make it to the Golden Land, unless I misremembered the epitaph. All right. I hope that is a good enough summary without no items. I hope you feel like that counts as no items. I honestly don't know what else could be no items in this game. After Genji finished taking his late meal, he went out to do the nighttime rounds inside the mansion. Oh, okay, that's also entirely fair. He reheated the soup that Goat had started making and ate some random leftovers from the refrigerator. They were all things Goda had made himself and were, of course, delicious. Okay. I now need to know, what's the name of the lady I forgot? Natsuhi. There we go. And so Beatrice is in cancer. 1, 2... Oh, Shannon and George are going to be dead very soon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and you're also dead. 1, 2... George dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. So I think that's going to be the Golden Land group this time. They aren't officially listed as dead, but I'm pretty sure they're dead. He had half-heartedly gone to ask Rose and the others what they would do for dinner, but he'd been yelled at by a voice telling him that they had canned foods, that they were fine, and the door wasn't even open for him. So ironically, it was the servant Genji who was able to eat the more delicious meal. Did they? My memory is slipping then. Actually, can we... How far back can we... No, they die. The going to the rain is when they leave the chapel. It ends, like, right here. Yeah, so Shannon's magic wall breaks. She apologizes and says, as like the last thing, can you just say that you love me? Unfortunately, they're both killed before George is actually able to finish that sentence. I think what you're remembering is way back before is they escaped into the rain from the chapel. So they did escape that bit. But even though all those crimes had been committed and many people had already met a brutal end, why was it that Genji wasn't afraid to do the rounds all by himself? judging by his appearance, as he carried out his normal tasks without a trace of fear, as though everything was normal. You might think that all of the horrible events that had happened today were just a dream or an illusion. Was he taking a philosophic view, or was it simply resignation? Genji must have considered it a virtue to systematically carry out his duty until the last moment, since the fate that awaited him was unavoidable. It would probably be eternally impossible to perceive the depths of his heart unless he told of it himself. Because he'd given back the master key to Rosa, the places he could go to were extremely limited. All he could do was walk around the hallways, checking to make sure that the windows were closed. He was able to go around the route far more quickly than usual. He's also not able to lock the doors, unless they just have like a turn. After the sound of a moderate knock, Auntie Rose had been falling into a doze shortly before and jumped and woke up, pointing the barrel of the gun at the door as she yelled. I was napping on the sofa, and the voice also brought me back to reality.
源氏でございます。
何か用なの？扉は開けなくて結構よ。そのままで話して。
はい。それではこのままで失礼させていただきます。南條先生と熊沢の遺体を見つけました。
Oh, and this was something I missed, is that Rosa said they could only exonerate themselves by finding the bodies of Nanjo and Kumasawa. That essentially people aren't considered dead until their bodies are found.
そう、わかったわ。確認死体を見ない限り、私は誰も信じない。
If you don't believe anyone until the corpses are found, then this is a very obvious trap to open the door.
大丈夫だよ、バトラー。マリアといれば絶対に大丈夫。
Also, while we're at it, assuming I'm correct that Shannon, George, and Goda are all dead, and therefore the remaining 5 are the people going to the Golden Land. An important thing to note is that the only same people as last time are Battler and Maria. Rosa, Genji, and Grandpa are all new to the Golden Land this time. And I'm very curious to see, especially how Grandpa will react if he gets to go there, because going there means he gets to see Beatrice. Maybe my face was shadowed with anxiety. Maria grasped my hand with her small hand and spoke softly, trying to give me courage. Since it was Auntie Rose's job to ready the gun and stand guard, it felt immediate to remove the barricade of sofas. When I finished, I took a backward glance at Auntie Rose, who was pointing the barrel of the gun over my shoulder, and opened the door.
Kenji-san, 2人の死体はどこに？
中庭です。ご案内いたします。
バトラ君待って。念のため部屋の戸締まりを確認していくわ。ちょっと待ってね。
Auntie Rosa called me to a halt to prevent me from going on ahead and began to carefully check the locks in each of the windows. Those locks had already been checked once. It felt kind of unpleasant, as though she suspected that I might have secretly unlocked them when she wasn't looking. No, maybe she was right to be this cautious. Even though it was called a courtyard, it wasn't really a pretty place you could take a walk in like the Rose Garden. On the contrary, since it was surrounded by the mansion on all sides, it made you feel a little discomfort, as though it was telling you that you couldn't escape from the mansion even if you tried to escape to the outside. On the other hand, thanks to that, even the violent winds can be heard. The wind itself was blocked. Genji-san held out an umbrella, but Auntie Rose ignored him. Probably wanted to say that the gun took 2 hands, so taking the umbrella would be dangerous because she wouldn't be able to fire the gun. Even without Genji-san pointing his finger, we could tell immediately. Right in the center of the courtyard, we could see where Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san lay. It would probably be pretty hard to... I mean, could you fire it? Yes, it would probably be pretty hard to aim it, because that's going to have a lot of recoil, and Rosa does not strike me as a particularly strong person who is going to be, like, really able to control the recoil with one hand. So I could easily foresee if she, you know, one hands like this, it like smacks her in the head. I say this as someone who has never fired a gun. Auntie Rosa entered the courtyard without even an umbrella, so Genji-san and I also entered the courtyard without opening one. Only Maria had one open like normal.
これは
So Canada does have like gun ranges where you can like go and do stuff. I think you just need to show ID that you're over the age of majority in that province. And like you can get guns in Canada. It just there's a officially I don't know how many people actually follow this, but technically when you get your gun license, and let's say you're going hunting at some park for a weekend, you were supposed to inform the police of, hey, I'm traveling on these dates between this location, you know, my house, and this park. I will have this gun, it'll be carried this way, I'll have this number of bullets, here's the route I'm taking. I'm sure people don't do this. I see. Yeah. Like, I've gone paintballing. Just once, I think. So I fired a paintball gun. I've been hit by a paintball. It stings. I've never done a BB gun. And I've never done a real gun. So paintball gun's the closest thing I've done.
Oh, 第7の番と第8の番だね。
Okay, we got official deaths. That updated him to be the 7th Twilight and her to be the 8th Twilight.
なるほど。確かに源氏さんたちが言っていたように、2人の首にはひどい傷があるわね。すごく鋭利な、まるで日本刀か何かで切ったかのように酸っぱいね。
That gaping wound on the neck definitely made me want to avert my eyes. Seeing the Halloween party in the chapel, even though I thought it was horrible, it was no longer enough to make me feel sick. Instead, our gazes were directed to their legs. Dr. Nanjo's knee, and Kumasawa-san's ankle. Driven to each of them was something like a knife or a stake, the demonic decoration. You're interrupting us finding bodies that I think have actually been mutilated post-mortem, because we know that they were killed by the slice to the neck, and yet I'm just curious if it'll now show. Yeah, okay. It now shows his knee and her ankle, because originally them being sliced in the neck didn't meet the requirements of the epitaph of one is stabbed in the knee, one is stabbed in the ankle, and I think the next one is leg, so I'm guessing Goda is going to be leg, which implies that to make her epitaph a reality, Beatrice will kill you any way she wants, and then stab you in whatever body part is said in the epitaph later before your corpse is found by the majority. They would surely be the same as the one that had pierced Jessica's back.
これは何なの？ジェシカちゃんの時と同じね。何かオカルトの儀式のつもり。
わかります。彼らの遺体を最後に見た時にはこのようなものはありませんでした。
Yeah, like we as the viewer and Genji who is there knows that they died from having their necks sliced open. And before that time, if you looked at their bodies, they only had the neck wound. But now they have neck and knee and neck and ankle, respectively. And that's exactly what Genji's saying now. This wasn't here before. The one that had been stuck into Dr. Nanjo's knee was still standing erect. But the one that had been thrust into Kumasawa-san's ankle might have been a little shallower. It had come out and fallen over. So it was only when I saw that one had fallen over that for the first time I realized it wasn't a knife, but something like a stake. skull length was probably about 30 centimeters. That's about a foot for our American comrades. It was probably made out of bronze or iron or something of the sort. Even without touching it, I could tell it had some weight to it. He was too well done for me. It was composed of a grip and a cone-shaped part, and was obviously made to be a piercing weapon. Maybe you could describe it like a miniature version of those lances Western knights use on horseback. The grooves that had been carved in a spiral shape made it also look like a drill. However, the grip had an occult design of a demon or something. Instead of a weapon used in war, it felt like something that would be used in a ritual to offer up a sacrifice.
間違いない。生贄の。
第7の番に膝をえぐりて殺
And
せ。
Maria is now quoting the epitaph.
第8の番に足をえぐりて殺せ。
Oh, 8 is leg. I guess ankle is considered leg in this.
それじゃ第4、5、6の番が抜けちまう。まさか。
That's right. Why is Genji-san alone? If something like this had happened, wouldn't George Aniki, Goda-san, or Shannon-chan be here? Why was Genji-san alone?
どういうこと？ジョージ君たち3人はどこへ行ったの？
Another important thing here. So, these ones are found, but what did he just say? They skipped Twilight, what was it, 4, 5, 6? But these two were killed first, and yet they're Twilight 7 and 8. Which to me implies the Twilight doesn't happen until the respective body part is pierced. So again, Beatrice can kill them in any order. And actually, can I pull up the epitaph? I think that was in tips somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so then the 6 and then the 2. Yeah, so here's 7 and 8. So we missed 4, 5, 6. So what this implies is that 4 through 8, 4 through 8, doesn't matter the order they're killed in, but when they're found with the gouge in the body part, that's when they count. Also, just warning people up ahead, knee and leg probably weren't too bad, but someone soon is going to have a head wound.
夏日奥様のお部屋を探し物に行きたいと思いました。まだお戻りになりません。
なんだって。
Beatrice is a human she's been trying to rescue her with 2 series of hilarious and unfortunate incidents. People keep dying around her.
その出かけたってのはいつ頃の話なんだよ。
2、3時間前のことだと思います。
そんな、なんでそんな大事なことをやっちゃなくて、なんで不審に思わなかったんだよ。
This is true. It does not say the gouge to the leg or to the knee kills.
常に一人使用人は待機していなくてはなりません。
But the order appears to be you can kill and then gouge to the leg.
彼らが戻るまで待機しているのは私のお務めでしたもの。
Is Genji-san really this much of a robot? This is bad. This is bad. It's really bad. The fact that Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa had been killed in this way meant that 3 people had already been killed. We ran towards Aunt Natsuhi's room. Conversely, it could also mean that the doctor and Kumasawa were still alive previously. Because there was no doctor to validate that they were in fact dead. With a touch of anxiety and just as much resignation. Before we even saw the inside of Aunt Natsuhi's room, we were imprisoned by a certain resignation. On that door was bizarre graffiti. No filth. In any case, the door wasn't in a normal state, and we were able to imagine what was inside the room without opening it. On the face of the door, how should I say it? Someone had heavily painted with their hands the same red paint that the magic circles from before had been drawn with. It banged on the door, scratched it, dirtied it. It was dirtied like the aftermath of a kindergartner playing in the mud. Didn't know what it can mean. The bright red paint that had been slathered on was dripping down, and even though no one said it, it made us think of blood.
Genji-san, 開けてください.
Auntie Rosa held her gun up high and ordered Genji-san to open it. Genji-san approached the door without being particularly troubled by the stuff on it and turned the knob. He immediately turned around, shaking his head. It was locked. Right now, there's only one person this mansion who could lock and unlock doors at will. Auntie Rosa. This time, Genji-san asked Auntie Rosa to unlock the door and set up the other way around. Making a slightly disgruntled face, Auntie Rosa handed me a master key and told me to open the door.
アトラ君、これで開けてもらえる?
そのくらいのこと、ケンジさんを信用しても。
Auntie Rosa glared at me with an intense gaze. Getting into a fight here would only make the environment turn even more sour. So these headphones, I actually just had to replace the ear covers on it. Mine does go up and down, yes. This is an IKEA chair. It's pretty good quality. I'm a fan of it. I know Mrs. Popeye, she found it a bit, too thin. That wasn't enough kind of padding. But I've stuck with it. It also lets you lean back. I have it locked because I don't personally like leaning back. So I feel like I'm just going to topple over, but it does have the lean back as well. Without talking back anymore, I approached that creepy door and tried the knob. It didn't open. It was definitely the resistance of the lock. I stuck the master key into the keyhole. Clunk. A light resistance. But listening to Auntie Rosa, she told me to be cautious. I opened the door without being particularly cautious at all. And there was the scene laid out before us, not betraying our expectations in the slightest. Again, warning, at least one person here is going to have their face, torn apart. I heard the update, but let's see who is who before we look at the updated graphs. The inside of the room looked as though a robber had just broken in. Drawers were flung open, pulled out, and their contents thrown all over the room. The room devastated, so that it looked nothing like the room that the methodical Aunt Natsuki. The thing that caught the eye before that was Goda-san's body lying face down right in front of the door. One of those demon stakes had been rammed right into the center of his chest, almost as though it had been stuck there to finish off a vampire. Exactly how far would it have reached after being stuck that deeply into his chest? My own chest hurt just imagining it. Maria grabbed my hand. Her expression looked just like normal. But maybe she really was afraid of the aura in this room where 3 bodies lay. Also, I love how no one cares anymore that Maria's looking at 3 people dead. Along the wall furthest in the room, Georgia Anarchy was dead. This time, one of the stakes had been rammed right in the center of his stomach. Gouging the stomach was the 6th Twilight, I think. Chin and Chan's body was face down in front of the dresser, lying in a sea of blood. Its horribly broken mirror sprayed with blood. Had she seen her final worldly expression? Because she was face down, I couldn't see her face, but I could imagine even without seeing it. Nearby, in the sea of blood, lay a demon stake had fallen. Only the 4th Twilight was left, gouge the head and kill. Maybe my heart was completely tired out and dead. Even though I knew what I was doing was wrong, I lifted her head and checked, and confirmed that my guess was right on the mark. There was a gaping hole in Shan-Chan's forehead and her insides were dripping out. Not only that, you could even see inside her. Seeing that, I finally noticed that what I was doing was wrong, and I immediately averted my eyes, but by now it was probably pointless.
こらバトラ君、警察が来るまでそっとしておかないとダメよ。勝手に触ってどういうつもり？せっかくの現場証拠がおかしくなっちゃったらどうするのよ。
Auntie Rosa yelled furiously at me and even yanked the back of my collar. I tottered limply and fell on my butt and gazed dimly up at the ceiling.
マリア、これで第8の番まで終わっちまったな。第9の番って何だったっけ？
第9の番に魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしない。
そっか、これで黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェは復活するんだな。そしてなんだ、最後の第10の番。
第10の番に旅は終わり、黄金の里に至るだろう。黄金鏡の扉はもうすぐ開かれるんだよ。もうすぐ。
魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしない。俺たちはこれから死ぬのか、それともこれで生贄の儀式は終了で俺たちの旅は終わり、黄金鏡へたどり着けるのか。何が俺たちの旅だ。俺たちは今日一日犯人を見つけよう、事態を打開しようと散々頭をひねって何もバカの考え休むに似たりってやつだ。
Is there any place in the mansion that has never been seen? I'm sure there are. There's also we haven't been inside the forest because the whole island is like several kilometers like in diameter. So there's definitely like parts in the forest we have not been to.
そうさ、俺たちは今日一日ずっと憎悪と疑心暗鬼で自分を
And actually, I can tell you at least two places we have not been in. In the first chapter, Aunt Natsuki said that because of the rain, she had rooms prepared for everyone inside the main mansion in case we didn't want to walk through the rain back into the the hotel residence. However, we didn't see the cousin's room because they elected to go back to the other place. So there's at least one guest room here that we haven't seen. And then there would be the same one, but for Battler's parents. So there's at least two rooms that I can think of that we have not seen. I guess also for Rosa. So there's three. There's three rooms in the main mansion at least we haven't seen. I would presume that in the other mansion that there would be, say, you know, like cupboards or maybe like another like small kitchen. So I'm sure that there's rooms we haven't seen. We also haven't seen, I'm sure there's like cleaning cupboards. Oh, we haven't seen where any of the servants sleep. There we go. There's like several rooms probably. Unless the servant room where they like have their breaks is just where they sleep, which would be really shitty of them, but maybe that's the case. And we haven't seen the part of Kinzo's room where, when Battler was doing the diagram, where his bed and like washroom and stuff is.
死んだ人間しか信用できないって言ってわざわざ3人の死に顔をここまで確認に来たんです。
So that is the thought, Samus's, which then implies that the golden land is where we had the tea party last time. Does that imply that the gold is somewhere in the room where they have the tea party? I don't know. Actually, I do know a bit because I remember from the anime, but I won't say anything more.
こんな俺たちがどうして黄金鏡とやらにたどり着けるっていうんだよ。
That's right. If nothing can be solved, it would have been much better if we'd locked ourselves up the whole time without thinking at all. Grandfather was the wisest of us. He had been shut up in his room since yesterday without any contact with anyone. That would have been fine. Grandfather was the most correct.
大丈夫だよバトラー。マリアといれば大丈夫。魔女はとても気まぐれで時に面白半分に人間を殺すかもしれない。でもマリアと一緒にいれば絶対に大丈夫だから怯えないで。
Maria was the real witch all along. Because Maria calls herself a witch. So does she have powers as well? After Auntie Rosa finished investigating her deaths, she proclaimed that she would seal this room again. She chased the rest of us out, stole back the master key she had lent me, and locked the door again. It seemed that Georgia Aniki had been holding the original key to Aunt Natsuki's room. She had also collected that. Wait a second. She had all of the master keys in her hand. And if the original key had been shut up in that room, wasn't this another locked room? This is a fourth locked room? Now that we had been released of our suspicions of those three, we once again returned to the parlor. I don't have a clue what's going on anymore. Only the dead are safe, and everyone alive is a wolf, and all that's left is me, Auntie Rosa, Maria, and Genji-san. Only those, grandfather, and that 19th person, the guest who I hadn't even sensed, Beatrice. 13 people had died, 6 were left. With only 6 people, how would the wolves and sheep puzzle end? Even though the puzzle, which had been 19 people in it, had been reduced to a mere 6, I couldn't find any answer. We returned to the parlor. I felt a little anxious that, while we were gone, a creepy magic circle or something might have been drawn on the door to the parlor, but thankfully there was none.
ありがとう、源氏さん。ここまでで結構よ。あなたも今日は休んでください。
かしこまりました。これで休ませていただきます。
おい、ローザおばさん。この状況下で源氏さんをたった一人で過ごさせるっていう。
そうね。とても危険なことだと思うわ。でもならなぜ彼は無事なの？彼は3人が夏日姉さんの部屋へ向かった後、ずっと一人でいた。なのに無事だった。狼と羊のパズルよ。
So far what I've noticed is, if Beatrice is appearing as her witch form, so to battle her in this episode or to Maria in the previous one, she wears her traditional like long flowy dress. But in this one, when she's in her quote human form, where she is a guest and is like perceived by all the other humans here, she has her short skirt version.
最も弱い立場となる孤立した羊が無事な理由は何？
狼がたまたまいなかったんだろ。
違うわ。それが羊じゃなかったから。
However, also of note is I'm pretty sure when George and the others are attacked in the chapel, that the Beatrice was wearing the human form Beatrice clothing, which implies that the human form also has magical powers. But then when she goes to kill them in Natsui's room, she's back to wearing her dress. I think was the outfits.
源氏さんが狼だって言うのかよ。
彼は一人で厨房にいたそうだけど、それは証明不能よ。南條先生たちの死体を運んだり、 ジョージ君たちを殺したりできたのは彼かベアトリーチェだけなのよ。
待てよ。
バトラ様、お気遣いをありがとう。私は信頼を勝ち得るのは常に100の言い訳ではなく一つの誠実であると信じています。たとえ信頼をいただけなくても私は最後まで誠実でありたいと思います。
源氏さ
んなら決まりね。あなたが本当に無実ならそれは明日やってくる警察が証明してくれるわ。だからそれまでの間長年後宮家に仕えてくれたあなたに
You don't look
こ
very
んな
pained
仕
at
打
all,
ちをするの
Rosa.
は本当に心苦しいんだけれど、今夜は分かってください。そして明日になったらもう一度仲直りさせてください。
Genji-san gave his head a small shake.
今日も明日も私は後宮家の使用人であり続けます。ご用がありましたらいつでもお申し付けください。それでは失礼させていただ。
Hearing all that, there was nothing left to say. Genji-san bowed deeply and left down the hall. He has no keys, though. Where is he going? So we entered the room. And though Auntie Rosa still held all the master keys for herself, she began another thorough check of inside the parlor. I mean, maybe, but like, is he just gonna like sleep on the floor? Like, what? Is he just not sleeping? She opened the curtains and checked again to make sure the windows were locked. As I watched, how should I say it? I felt like it didn't really matter anymore. If I said anything unnecessary, it would turn into another fight. For a while, I gazed at her from the corridor. Figured I had waited just about long enough and entered the parlor behind her. She can't trust anyone but the dead. She should just go around killing everyone with the gun she's got in her hand. Then in the end, she'll realize that she herself was the wolf. And then she can blast through the head of the final wolf, and the curtain will close on this insane murder theater. So I thought that bitterly. I returned to the sofa where I had been encamped before, and rudely rested both my feet on the table. I was about to, and I found something there and stopped to my feet.
なんだ。
Right there, almost as though as it was addressed to me, was a Western envelope. It's the envelope from before with the seal of the one-winged eagle, and it was unopened. Wait. What is this? Who put it in a place like this? The only reason I can think of why we as Battler are important is we are just the eyes for the viewer to witness the story, and if we died really fast, that would make it not fun. Even though I know we can jump around and see, like, you know, George's group do something and Genji by himself, I think putting us there, well, one, it rules out Battler as any suspect unless you have an unreliable narrator, which I don't think is possible because we were here in the parlor this whole time, so clearly we didn't kill George and the others. And there hadn't been anything, and when I returned it was here.
大丈夫。戸締まりに問題はないわ。この部屋は安全よ。
I heard Rosa muttering that. Wait. We had made sure this room was safe when we exited it. We checked that all the windows were perfectly locked. We'd locked it, come back, and the windows were still locked. Then wait. Who had put this letter here, and how? I opened the letter. 2 pieces of stationery came out. First page had a magic circle drawn on it and something like blood. If I asked Maria, she'd probably know what it meant. It's the Triforce. There was writing on the other page.
気分の謎解きは進んでおりますか？もうじきあっさり時間切れ。第9の番はもうじき始まります。
There was no mistake. It was a letter from Beatrice. But what if Maria's Princess Zelda?
バトラ、それは。
ああ、今ここに来たら、置いてあった。
どうしたのマリア？バトラ君、その手紙は？
いや、ここに置いてあったんだ。どうしてだよ。この部屋はちゃんと戸締まりをしていたのに。
Viator.
どうしてだよ。どうして。
マリア、いらっしゃい。
Auntie Rosa closed her eyes just a little, and after silently thinking something, told Maria to come. I have a theory. She thinks we're a wolf as well, and that we brought this letter in with us because we're the ones who found it. And if she's verified this room was locked, then the only way it could come in is if one of us brought it in. She knows she didn't do it. She's trusting that Maria is not intelligent enough to have carried out anything that's here. So clearly we are a wolf, and I think we're about to get her head blasted off. Maria obeyed her mother's words. As she did, something unbelievable happened. Auntie Rosa pointed the barrel of the gun at me.
バトラ君、あなたを狼だと断定するわ。
どうして？
私はこの部屋にたった今帰ってきて、そのテーブルの上に何もないことを見ている。そしてマリアがそのテーブルに近づいていないことも知っている。わずかな時間よ。でもこのテーブルに近づき、そして手紙を見つけたと主張するのはあなただけなのよ。
そんなのって、いや、めちゃくちゃだ。なんで俺がこんなものを置くんだよ。おいおい、俺は不審なものを見つけて報告しただけだぜ。なんで俺が疑われるんだよ。
あなたにしかその手紙をそこへ置けないからよ。そう、これは自作自演。あなたが懐から封筒を取り出し、たった今見つけたかのように振る舞った。密室の中に魔女が入って手紙を置いていった幻想を作り出すためにね。
バカ野郎。またそういう考えなのかよ。そんなことで俺まで疑うのかよ。いい加減にしろ。俺は親父たちを殺されてるんだぞ。そんな俺がどうして犯人の片棒を担がなければならないんだよ。
そうね、たとえ莫大なお金がもらえるとしたとしても、そんなことで肉親の命を切り売りできるような悪魔がいるなんて信じたくないわ。でもね、いるかもしれない。言い方が悪いわね。例えばバトラ君にとってルドルフ兄さんたちが親でなかったとしたら。
はあ？何を言い出すかと思えば、親父は親父だろうが。確かにキリエさんと血縁はねえが、俺の姉貴も同然のお人だ。そこだけは聞き捨てならねえぞ、この野郎。
Yes.
言うのをやめなさい。ごめんなさい、言い方が悪かったわね。確かに後ろ宮バトラ君はルドルフ兄さんの子供かもしれない。でもあなた本当にルドルフ兄さんの息子のバトラ君なの
？Things are like a doppelganger?
何わけのわかんねえこと。俺がバトラじゃねえんなら誰に見えるってんだよ。
I guess we haven't been here in enough years that...
ルドルフ兄さんも含めて私たちは6年ぶりにあなたに再会しているわ。 あなたが本当に後宮バトラーかなんて誰も証明できないのよ。あなたは本当は後宮バトラーじゃなくて、後宮家の財産をうまく騙し取ろうと紛れ込んだ何者かかもしれない。あなた自分が後宮バトラーだとはっきり証明できる。今この場で。
いい加減にしやがれ。俺は俺だ。後宮バトラーだ。そこまで疑い出した。あんただって本当に後宮ローザなのかよ。自分は自分だ。他の誰でもね。ああそうだな。あんたの言う通りだぜ。死体以外で信用できるなら自分だけってわけだ。そこまで言うなら反論させてもらうぜ。ジョージの兄貴たちが死んでいた夏代おばさんの部屋にも鍵がかかってた。部屋の鍵はジョージの兄貴が持っていたんだろう。そしてマスターキーを持ってるのは今やローザおばさんだけだぜ。あの部屋に施錠できたのはあんただけじゃねえかよ。俺の推理じゃこうだ。あんたは真犯人と通じ合っていて俺たちの目を盗み5つのマスターキーのうちの1つをこっそり貸し出したんだ。
そんなことしないわよ。ほらここに5つあるわよ。
そんなのは当てになるもんか。あらかじめ取り決めた場所に置かせて回収したかもしれねえじゃねえかよ。それにマスターキーが5個かどうかは疑わしいと言ってたのはあんただぜ。
じゃああなたはその封筒をあなた以外の誰がどうやってそこに置いたというのよ。それが証明できない限りあなたが狼なのよ。
うるせえ。ならあんたこそ証明しろよ。犯人はどうやってジョージの兄貴たちをあの密室で殺したと言うんだよ。どうやって施錠したと言うんだよ。
まったくにもってその通り。
Beatrice is on her side now.
夏日の部屋も全く同じだといつもの通り。
Even though we weren't doing this, we got okay. Natsuhi's room murder. Locked as usual.
扉も窓も内
I'm
側
just
から
gonna now
施錠
do
されていた。
locked as usual
いかなるイカ様も細工もなく、
instead of doing all of
そ
this
して隠された
nonsense.
通行手段もなければ隠れる場所もない。夏日自身の鍵はジョージのポケットに入って室内に閉じ込められ
So,
ている。
okay. He was in George's pocket inside the locked room.
あとは5本のマスターキーしかないが、それは全てローザ
I
が
love
持
how
って
she
いる。
puts Rosa in quotes. Rosa held all 5 master keys.
ついでに言おう。その客間も同じよ。本来の客間の鍵は使用人室
Okay,
に
and while
封印
she's
さ
at
れてい
it,
る。
the parlor key is locked in the servant room.
だからマスターキー以外では解錠不能。部屋の密室定義もいつもに同じよ。おいおい、容疑者はもう一人しかいねえぜ。それでもまだかまととぶんのかよ。後ろ宮バトラ
うるせえ。てめえも黙ってろ。
黙るのはあなたの方でしょ。あなた以外にどうやってその手紙を置けたというの。それが証明できない限りあなたは狼なのよ。
俺が疑えるってんならあんただって疑えるぜ。あんたこそ証明してみろ。最初に部屋に入って戸締まりの確認だのを始めたのはそして俺の座っていた場所に再び俺が戻るだろうことを見越し手紙をそっと置いたんだ。これはあんたの罠だって疑うこともできるんだぜ。
どうして私がそんな罠を。私が狼ならこの銃で問答無用で撃ってるわよ。
そんなのじゃ理由にな。マリアの目の前で殺人ができねえから、うまく罠にかけようって回りくどいことしてるかもしれねえじゃねえか。マスターキーは全てあんたの手にある。ならここもさっきも全部あんたの仕業じゃねえかよ。言い逃れできるってんなら言い訳を聞かせてみろよ。そうさ、ローザおばさんは最初から怪しいんだよ。なんで親族会議の大人たちが6人殺されたのにローザおばさんだけが例外なんだ。なんでローザおばさんだけがあの礼拝堂にいなかったんだ。一つしか理由がねえよ。ローザおばさんが親父たちをあそこに招いて殺したんだ。クソクソ、それで全部説明がつくじゃねえかよ。ふざけんじゃねえ、ふざけんじゃねえ。わけのわかんねえことを言うんじゃねえ。
No, I don't think we got shot. Maria thrust herself between me and Auntie Rosa, both of us incensed. I was taken back by Maria's crying voice and returned to my senses. That instant, I became filled with shame. Tears flowed from my eyes.
そうなんだよ、全部。魔女のせいだったんじゃないかよ。鍵がどうこうとか、トリックだのアリバイだの、全部魔女の仕業なのに、俺たちは同じ人間同士を信じ合うこともできなくて。なあ、ローザおばさん。人間の犯人なんて最初からいなかったんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。だからローザおばさんが犯人のわけがないし、俺やマリアだって、そして源氏さんだって他のみんなだって、どうしてこんなことに。俺はどうして優しくって大好きだったおばさんとどうしてこんな罵り合いをしてるんだよ。なんでみんなで疑い合わなくちゃならねえんだよ。おばさんを疑ってなんかいないんだ。誰も疑ってなんかないんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。ベアトリー全部ベアトリーチェが魔法で行った事件だったんだ。ベアトリーチェ、頼むからここに現れてくれよ。そして自分が全てやったと俺たちに告白してくれよ。もうごめんだ。こんな疑り合いはごめんなんだ。だから俺たちを許してくれ、解放してくれ。互いの死を見届け合うまで疑り合わなきゃならない地獄から解放してくれ。俺に優しい親戚たちを、いとこたちを返してくれよ。もう嫌だ、全部嫌だ。お前は確かに実在する。姿を見せてくれよ。ベアトリーチェ。
I think this is how we summon our grandfather. Get shot now?
私はまだ生きているのか。
Kinzo seemed to have fallen into a doze at some point. He searched for spectacles and looked at the clock. It was 10 p.m.
あやつの儀式はあってどこまで進んだのか。時間的にはもうだいぶ進んでいなくてはならぬ頃だ。
Kinzo lifted his heavy body from the chair and approached the portrait of the witch that he had gazed at every day.
微笑みに再会できる。死んでもいい。お前の微笑みがもう一度見られるならこの命は惜しくない。だから交渉だ。お前にもう一度会わせてくれ。そして愛を誓わせておくれ。私の罪を謝らせておくれ。ああ、だが逃がさん。お前は私のものだ。髪の毛の一本からつま先まで爪の赤すらも私のものなのだ。
Okay, Kenzo, whatever you
お
say.
前の肉一片までも全て私のもので、その亡骸の煮汁まで私のものなのだ。
Please don't make broth from corpses.
逃がさん。今度こそこの手からこぼさん。お前を永遠に私のものにしてやるぞ。
That's kind of been my assumption, Samus, is that we can see all of this because, in fairness to chess battle, or he needs to be able to see what's happening to everyone.
二度と逃がすものか。二度と逃がすものか。
Kenzo howled in rage, and then suddenly fell to his knees as he shook and scraped at the wall. In an instant, he had started sobbing.
違う。私が言いたいのはこんなことじゃないんだ。ベアトリーチェ。頼む。もう一度会わせてくれ。謝らせてくれるだけでいい。ベアトリーチェ。
Is she saying in red?
お前が愛しい恋しい。私が間違っていた。お前が微笑んでさえくれれば他には何もいらなかったんだ。私が間違えた。私がそれを間違えて取り返しのつかないことをしてしまった。その償いに残りの全ての人生を
Kenzo be crying like he's a
捧
suspect in a Phoenix Wright game.
お前に詫びるた
With
め
like the
に
head back and
私
the
の罪を償うために全て捧げたんだ。頼む。私の死の際でもいい。
Ushan Mia Conorizo.
せめてお前に一言謝らせて。ベアトリーチェ。
Oh no. As Kenzo shook and cried, behind his back, a butterfly appeared out of nowhere like a flake of gold leaf and slowly fell down. You fool, Kenzo. You think a woman exists who would fall for a man's tears? Well, even if it wouldn't make a human woman fall for you, it might for a woman who is not human. Kenzo, do you remember? The board position of our chess game which we never finished. Kenzo, as though he had suddenly remembered something, approached the chess set. The game he'd been playing with Nanjo until yesterday remained there still. He wiped the pieces from the chessboard with a wide sweeping motion and began lining them up again one by one. It was the setup for a game in progress.
そうだ。こうだ。私はクイーンを進めた。とても良い妙手だった。お前には少々きつすぎるかもしれん一手だった。 お前は駒を見捨てるか見捨てないかに悩み、
Ginzo waited with the opposite seat empty. Surely very soon his opponent would appear there and he would be able to restart this game again. You fool, Ginzo. You want to apologize? You want to see my face again? You want to make my smile an eternal thing? Why can't you say a much, much simpler word? Even though that is the single element of the world. At the time, Kinzo muttered, prayer? Entreaty? Probably best just to call it a muttering.
お前を愛しているベアトリーチェ。
They were pure words, like something an innocent child would say without any evil intent. You really are a fool, Kinzo. If you ever have the chance to do your life over again, know that those words could never cause a woman to fall for you. Yes, not without a miracle. So this... Just then, Kinzo definitely heard a small knock, with a different tempo than those of the servants. The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
誰かと聞いておる。返事をせるか。
The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
まさか。
Wait, Beardy, are you Beatrice? Or, wait. When Kinzo last saw Beatrice, he said this. No, you are... So Beardy, I guess, is Beatrice, but you are also the second child of Kinzo. There's a fly in here that none of my pets want to kill. They're all too lazy. The woman beyond the door answered. On the 9th twilight the witch revives, and none shall be left alive. Battler could be found in the dining hall, unable to summon the will to return to the guest house in the middle of this rain. He had wandered half-heartedly around the mansion in search of a random place to sit, and had stationed himself in the dining hall. He hadn't bothered to lock it. He did think that maybe the shapeless murderer of the Golden Witch might come to kill him now that he was isolated, but he no longer thought about resisting that. On the contrary, he had no intention of blocking the culprit with a lock. He wanted that person to come at him openly from the front. If it was a murderer, he thought he'd ask them to tell about some of those wonderful locked room tricks as a parting souvenir. If it was a witch, he thought he'd ask her to at least take his life with some wonderful magic. However, ironically, neither of these two came to meet Battler. Battler opened the liquor cabinet on his own and enjoyed the liquor to his heart's content. No longer was there anybody there who would have a problem with him drinking alcohol. He boldly set both of his legs on the extravagant tablecloth and savored the high-quality liquor, which probably had a mind-boggling price, straight from the neck of the bottle. At that time, someone knocked. Battler realized that he was about to meet his maker.
ああ、鍵なんかかかってねえぜ。誰でも入ってきてくれ。そして自己紹介を頼むぜ。人間なら名前を名乗ってくれ。ベアトリーチェだってんなら3サイズを教えてくれ。
Battler's second you even more, I'm sure.
俺はこう見えてもちょいと知られたおっぱいソムリエなんだぜ。
I'm again so glad I'm not having to read this out loud.
返事でございます。
Dang it, Battler! all the things Genji's had to put up with today. Only if Genji is Beatrice.
悪いが、あんたのバストのサイズに興味はねえな。入ってくれよ。空いてるぜ。
失礼いたします。
Genji-san opened the door and bowed. So Genji-san was the culprit after all, or maybe an accomplice. That theory would probably explain most of the tricks.
あんたが俺に引導を渡しに来たのかい？
そのようなことはございません。お邪魔なようでしたら失礼いたします。
おいおい、要件も伝えず失礼しますじゃかえって気持ち悪いぜ。何の用だよ。最後くらい好きにさせてくれ。
バトラ様は死せる最後のわずかな時間を。
I mean, he is the expert in creepiness, is he not? Dang it, I'm an idiot. I did not open the thing that the random key thing will do. Yeah, refund. I'm running it right now. Oh, I opened the wrong one. Let me quickly unpin that old one so that I can open this one. Okay. I think it's working, but give me 1 sec. Let's see. Don't want you to waste your points if it's not working. I think it's not working. Yeah, it's having an issue connecting with OBS. Okay. Okay, and now it says it's running. Let's try this again. Maybe it needs to update, because I did update OBS, I think from 30 to 31. So I think that is a problem. So let me very quickly... I'm going to disable random key, likely random key, Konami code, no items for whatever reason that I left that on. And I'll have to make a note. Okay. Look into... What are you called? Squishio? Squishio. My guess is I probably need to update Squishio to match the OBS update. That's my guess. When Beardy's back, he can refund his points, or Samus's... Yeah, refund your Konami code points as well. Yeah, I think I just need to update it again. Those words stung. Of course it wasn't.
今さら何ができるってんだ。俺はいつだって死ぬ準備はできてるぜ。
親方様と同じですな。本当にあなたは親方様の血を色濃く受け継がれている。
あの豪傑なじい様が実はいつ死んでもいいと思ってたってのか。それは初耳だぜ。
親方様の人生はいくつかの悲しい出来事の末、すべて贖罪のためのものとなり果てたのです。
あんたは何を知っているんだ。
ベアトリーチェ様の儀式も第8の晩までをすべて終えました。もうすべてをお話ししてもよいかと。
Okay, we're getting a lore dump.
なんだって。
My drunkenness was completely blown away. I lowered my feet from the table and listened carefully to what kind of words Genji-san would say next.
バトラス様、親方様の書斎へご案親方様たちに直接お話を聞かれるのがよろしいでしょう。
Them? He didn't say from the master.
じい様たち。おい、それは一体どういう。
さあ、こちらへご案内申し上げます。バトラ様。
After Genji-san told me to follow him, he started to walk down the corridor. I sobered up completely and went after him. I don't think that's how sobering works, but sure. I'm assuming it's both Kinzo and Beatrice. We climbed the big staircase towards the third floor. Genji-san stopped walking halfway, and he turned back and spoke.
バトラ様、これよりバトラ様は理解できぬものを見るでしょう。
脅すなよ。理解できねえもんなら今日嫌になるほど見てるぜ。
見えるものを見えるがままに、聞こえるものを聞こえるがままに、なぜも何も必要はありません。バトラ様はただ真実を知ることになるでしょう。それをお認めになるか、お信じ、あるいは否定されるかも、すべてバトラ様にお任せいたします。
Are we ready to meet Beans? Genji-san checked one last time to see whether I was prepared to learn the truth. The 8th twilight had already ended, and on the 9th twilight the witch revives and none shall be left alive. Meant that Beatrice had already revived, and probably none of us would be allowed to return alive. Yeah, there's no Beanzo debt here. If I was gonna lose my life anyways, I wanted to know the truth in the end. Didn't matter how hard it might be to accept.
ああ、鬼が出ようと魔女が出ようと覚悟はできてるぜ。
It's Genji's turn to be like, hold my beer.
親方様の若き頃にそっくりだ。バトラ様、どうかご勉学にお励みを。あなたは将来必ずや大きな志を持たれるでしょう。そしてその時、足りぬ学力に一生後悔されることがありませんよ。
勉学に勤しめる機会がもらえるならぜひな。
My prediction is we might get to the end, but then have to do the tea parties another time. Genji-san's silence forced me to consider that resignation of mine more deeply. And we could see the door of grandfather's study, impregnated with a sweet smell. From his pocket, Genji-san withdrew a gold key with an elegant design. The master keys had been confiscated by Auntie Rosa, but the key to the study alone he had kept with him. He put it in the keyhole, and it made a heavy clunking sound.
親方様、源氏です。バトラ様をお連れいたしました。
There was no reply, but it seemed that permission to go in had been given.
さあ、バトラ様、どうぞ。
ああ、入るぜ。
And just before we go in, because I don't think we ever looked at the others who had died. So Shannon in the forehead, George in the stomach, Goda in the chest. At that moment, I got slightly disoriented by the dazzling golden glow. It was somehow a swarm of butterflies shining gold. The golden butterflies that completely filled the inside of the study poured out all at once. It was almost like golden leaf confetti. Interior of Grandfather said he was filled with a golden glow. There were reception sofas and a table for guests placed in front of the study desk. And I could see Grandfather's back. There was someone on the side opposite from Grandfather. It was in shadow, so I couldn't see it well.
バトラ様をお連れしました。
バトラか。今思考が忙しい。しばし沈黙せよ。
Kinzo declared that in displeasure, his back still turned. It seemed he was enjoying playing chess with a visitor. Apparently the opponent had counterattacked with a superb move. Kinzo seemed to be enjoying himself as he thought deeply, while occasionally laughing and groaning.
30年考えた。この一手をどう切り返すか。
So she's in her human version clothing.
楽しめ。
Human version.
30年を寝かせた我が一手を楽しめ。
まことにこの一手は味わい深き熟成された一手よ。楽しい楽しい。
Well, his eyes are open now.
かなわぬかなわぬ。
Sounds like he's dying.
これは何だってんだ。
来たかバトラ。しばらく待て。金蔵のために沈黙。まだリザインは早いぞ金蔵。わらわならもう数手は切り返せる。
It should have been my first meeting with that witch. However, I knew this witch. Even though it was our first meeting, I knew her from the portrait.
源氏、バトラのために飲み物を振る舞え。この男によりふさわしきや
Specifically,
つ
she's
は
saying
ない
give him a drink.
若き日より親方様が愛されている。
それがよいぞ。振る舞ってよくぞ来たな。後ろ宮バトラ。まずは座れ。そなたはわらわの名を何度も呼んだな。それに免じ、わらわとの面会を許した。そしてお前は、わらわに何を聞く？何を尋ねるのか。黄金鏡の扉はもうじき開かれる。魔女たちを迎え入れてのわらわの復活を祝う宴はもうじきだぞ。それまでの間、お前の問いにいくらでも答えてやろう。
聞きてえことは山ほどある。この島で何が起こった？そしてどうしてこんな事件が起こった？密室についても聞きたい。礼拝堂は、ジェシカの部屋は、シオニッサ、夏代おばさんの部屋は、そして客間は。聞きたいことはまだまだある。魔女の正体は？本当にベアトリーチは魔女なのか？何が目的だ？俺たちに何をさせたい？俺をなぜここへ呼んだんだ？答えろ、全てだ。
やかましい。と 問えば答えは返るのか。
そういうな金蔵。もろく儚い雲の巣もヘロデの王から守ってくれることもある。この世に無駄なものなどないように無駄な質問もまたない。よいよい、すべての質問に答えようぞ。
He's ready for
た
answers.
だし条件が一つだけある。
なんだ。
すべてを聞き、わらわの存在に納得できたなら。
Where's the gold? What's the answer to the epitaph?
ひざまずき、わらわの靴にキスをせよ。お前を屈服させたくてわらわはここへ呼びつけたのだから。わらわと金蔵は賭けをした。金蔵が次の手をひらめくのと、わらわがそなたを屈服させるのと、どちら負ける気はせぬぞ。
でけえ口を叩きやがって。ああ、いいぜ。俺を納得させてみろよ。お前が間違いなく魔女様で、不思議で素敵な大魔法を使えるってことを納得させてみろよ。屈服したならキスでも何でもくれてやれ。
The witch cackled gloatingly. She glared at him unpleasantly with eyes that said, "A man can't go back on his word."
よくぞ言った。さて、どの問いから答えようか。すべて答えるぞ。さあ、まずは何からだ。
Cuts away to, wow, that answered everything. Oh no, this is actually a very long cut. I'm actually worried now. And the witch, oh no, began to tell of everything. She started providing answers to all of Battler's questions. Everyone made logical sense. Everyone satisfied him, and Battler was forced to admit witches truly did exist. The rest is a story that need not be told. After toppling the king and resigning, all that remains is to reflect upon one's moves and set the pieces up once more. I mean, in fairness, if she gave us all the answers. Second game, Turn of the Golden Witch result. Kraus died on the first Twilight. Chosen by the key. Natsuhi died on the first Twilight. Eva died on the first Twilight. Hideyoshi died on the first Twilight. Rudolph died on the first Twilight. Kyrie died on the first Twilight. Those are all the key sacrifices. Jessica died on the second Twilight, back pierced by Asmodeus. Canon died on the second Twilight by Satan in the chest. Shannon died on the fourth Twilight, in the forehead by Mammon. Goda on the 5th by Beelzebub, George on the 6th by Lucifer, Nanjo on the 7th by Belphegor, Kumasawa on the 8th by Leviathan. Beatrice survived on the 9th and will open the door to the Golden Land. Hi, Fly. Kinzo, missing on the 10th Twilight, accepted the witch. Rosa, missing, denied the witch and was not invited. Maria, missing, accepted. Genji, missing, accepted. Battler, missing on the 10th. Will he accept the witch? Question mark. The witch shall praise the wise and grant 4 treasures in the Golden Land. There they will choose to revive the souls of the dead and the love they possess, because they desired what cannot be gained from Mountain Gold no matter high. For Kinzo, his lost loved one. For Maria, the lost love of her mother. For Genji, a peaceful sleep. Rest in peace, Beatrice. May your slumber never be disturbed again. The winner is the Golden Witch Beatrice. Since of the 18, none solved the riddle of the golden time. All 18 died. When the seagulls cried, none were left alive. Well, I hope everyone is totally satisfied with those answers. I've got 20 some odd minutes. Let's see if that's enough time to go through the The tea parties, because I feel like the tea parties isn't really enough to have a whole stream.
どこなの？ベアトリーチェ、姿を見せなさい！ベアトリーチェ！
Rosa finally arrived at the chapel. She pointed her gun around, screaming the witch's name, but there was no way there would be an answer. After grimacing slightly, she noisily approached the table where her siblings' corpses were still exposed, and stretched out her arm towards the gold ingots. They were very heavy, but Rosa paid that no regard. She wrapped one of them up in a blanket and swung it over her shoulder.
せめてこの一つだけでも、これだけでも1000万以上の価値があるはず。
Rosa did not part with her gun either, carrying the gold in addition to it. Her shoulders were screaming, but Rosa didn't care.
もうすぐだね。もうすぐ黄金鏡の扉が開く。
その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさい。ベアトリーチェはどこにいるの？ええ、分かってるわ。どこかにいるんでしょ？あなたは知ってるんでしょ？どこ？
知らない。探さなくても黄金鏡で会えるよ。
その笑いをやめなさい。私が笑いたいくらいよ。そうね、あれは間違いなく魔女だったわ。間違いなく魔女だった。私は分かってなかった。魔女を名乗る人間だと信じてた。違う、あれは本当に魔女だった。私はあんなのにごまかされないわよ。いるんでしょ？出てきなさい、ベアトリーチェ！
I mean, after all that, she still denied the
現
witch.
れるよ。黄金鏡の扉が開かれるよ。
そうだ、それでよかったのだ。構わぬ。ルークを捨てるぞ。持てるもの全てを失う覚悟がなければ至ることもできぬキングがお前追い詰めるぞ、ベアトリーチェ。
せめてクイーンと言え。ほう、なかなかに妙手。諦めの悪さがそなたの。いや、後ろ宮の地下。
心地よし、実に優雅な夜だ。うわ
親方様、ベアトリーチェ様、そろそろ宴の時間でございます。
もうか、早い。お前と過ごす夜はいつも早く、月がリンゴのように落ち、川面より跳ねる小魚のように日が昇るのだ。
行こうではないか。さて、バトル、わらわの復活を祝う宴の始まりだ。わらわの新しい家具、いや、玩具として紹介しようぞ。俺キレキの魔女たち。
The witch was relaxing elegantly, her feet thrown out from the sofa and sitting on top of a footrest. However, the footrest wasn't a part of the sofa, it was a human. It was down on all fours.
ベアトリーチェ様、お召し替えのドレスでございます。
主賓はお前だが、ホストは私だ。私は先に出ていよう。着付けの手伝いにシャノンでもおればよかったが、あいにく残れなかったようだな。使いたい時にいつもおらん。
I don't like that sentence.
つくづく使えんやつ。しかしお前はよく残ってくれた。嬉しいぞ、我が友よ。
ありがたいお言葉です。
よい、二人とも先に下で待て。源氏、ご苦労。 そのドレスはそこへ置いていけ。
かしこまりました。それでは親方様。
我らは先に行こう。ベアトリーチェ、後ほどな。
Kinzo and Genji left the study. After that, only the witch and the dress and the furniture remained.
なぜわらわがそなたに肌を見せることを恥じぬかわかるか？
Beatrice, please don't get me, like, kicked off Twitch, please.
そなたは家具だからだ。家具。わかるか？家具だよ、家具。家具に体をさらして恥じる者がどこにいよう。だからお前にわらわは恥じる必要がない。
The witch stood up and removed her jacket just at the shoulders. The jacket slumped down at the back. When the furniture respectfully approached to pick up her clothing, the witch gave it a small kick and it fell over. The furniture was afraid of what misconduct it had shown.
そなたは家具の分際でわらわに自らボタンを外させるつもりなのか。立て、そしてこのボタンを外せ。一つずつ丁寧に、早く、美しく、粗相なく。客人たちを待たせてしまうぞ。早くわらわを着替えさせろ。丁寧に外すのだぞ。そなたの目玉一つ
I
よ
mean,
り
it
も
seemed
高
like she
価
would
な
have
ボタ
also
ンで
picked
ある。
Canon or Shannon for the exact same reason.
間違ってちぎるようなことがあったなら代わりに
The entrance hall was bustling with a large number of figures. It was sparkling with the gold butterflies lying around. The gentlemen in suits and tuxedos and the ladies in dresses looked like they were having a great number of friendly chats. At a glance, it must have looked like a fabulous medieval ball. They had one thing in common, and that thing was exceedingly bizarre. Because all of them had goat heads. It was impossible to tell whether it was a goat masquerade or whether they really had goat heads. The later was a ridiculous notion, but in this bizarre world, there was serious doubt about which was true. Kinzo was amongst the goat nobles, greeting them. Every one of them seemed to be an honored guest, and Kinzo greeted them more respectfully than could have ever been imagined from his normal demeanor. At that time, Genji's voice rang out through the hall. It was a voice calling for silence. That voice stopped the voices of idle chatter, and everyone turned to face Genji.
今宵復活を遂げましたる我らが黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ卿のご入場でございます。皆様拍手をもってどうかお迎えください。
When Genji began to applaud, it quickly spread through the guests and became thunderous applause. Okay, now she's switched into her dress. So I guess the clothing doesn't matter? Or is she only allowed to wear that clothing after she revives? And the Golden Witch appeared at the top of this large staircase. She gracefully waved her hand as she slowly descended the staircase with her preferred furniture in tow. The goat nobles offered unanimous words of celebration in some long-forgotten language. And those with whom she called a close acquaintance embraced her, filled with joy at their reunion. As the witch offered greetings of reunion, the witch's furniture followed behind her the whole time. There was a chain around its neck. This was gripped in the witch's hand like it was a trained dog. The chain wasn't there to restrain it. The only purpose of the restraining device was to injure the furniture's dignity. It wasn't permitted to wear anything else on its body. One of the young woman goats mixed in with the great nobles. She softly removed her goat mask as the furniture passed in front of her and spoke with eyes that had no light in them. The face looked like it belonged to a long-haired young girl. Hey, it's everyone's favorite picture from this game.
Oh, ベルンカステル教。
Please don't demonetize me.
これはようこそおいでよ。ファラワの家具を気に入られたか？いい趣味ね。
After saying only that, the witch called Baron Castell once again put on her goat mask and was swallowed up in the shadows of the other tall goats. The young woman goats giggled, and the witch once again let out a high-pitched laugh.
今宵はわらわのためによく集まってくれた。久々に古今東西の旧友たちが集う魔女の宴を存分に楽しもうではないか。さあ、今宵を食い明かし、飲み明かし、すすり明かし、食いちぎり明かして、とことん楽しもうではないか。時計を見よ。終わりの時間と始まりの時間が溶け合う時を指すぞ。魔女の宴を始めよう。
When the witch proclaimed the beginning of the banquet, the large clock pointed to midnight, and the sound of the bell began to ring out loudly.
さあ、今こそ黄金の扉を。
All at once, the butterflies leaped and gold flew around the inside of the room. Amidst the golden storm and the brilliant gold-colored light, the cross-section joining this world and a different world was cut open. Amidst the goats' delighted voices, the mansion of the human world and the mansion of those not human overlapped. In the form of golden butterflies, all those who praised the resurrection of the Golden Witch poured out of the depths of hell. It was a golden tornado, a rondo of golden demons. Come, tonight we put aside rank. Throw open the wine cellar, drop the snake's head into the liquor pot, throw cows and chickens into the furnace alive, drink and eat and sing and dance, sneer and kill and desecrate and degrade. The goat nobles were suddenly crushing in around Kinzo, almost like they were kids demanding the autograph of some famous movie star. There were two differences. First, they were witches, not kids. And second, what the witches demanded were not autographs. Kinzo began to drown in a sea of goat nobles. Only Kinzo's laughing voice echoed throughout the area. I think they ate him. It was a great mixture of laughter and his death throes, and Kinzo became wine and meat and bread. An aroma if slurped, a rich taste if gnawed, and pleasant to tear to bits. The voice of his death throes lingered on sweetly, and adorned with melted chocolate and silver drages, it would make a wonderful dessert. If you took the bones home, you could also use them for soup, and the remains could even be toys for children to play with. Hi, cat. You are blocking my subtitles. They could also be a good tool for fortune-telling that always gave misfortune. That entire scene was watched by the pieces of furniture. By the piece of furniture. It was all fantastical. It was all demonic. Was the quaking of its heart, which should have been paralyzed, proof that it could still feel fear? Just then its knees buckled and the furniture's body tumbled into the center of the carpet. Because the witch had kicked those knees from behind.
ひざまずき敬意を示せ。額を絨毯にこすりつけて、己神の癒しさを示せ。両手を後ろで組み、血肉のすべてをわらわに捧げることを誓え。
The piece of furniture let out a painful voice. Here's the most primal emotion humans have. Was that emotion reviving his sense of self, which had already been killed?
まだまだわらわの家具にはふさわしくないか。よい、じっくりそなた。わらわ好みに。今のそなたにできるのは、せいぜい客人の方々を楽しませることく。
The goat nobles were surrounding the cowering furniture, seeing that their blazing blood-red eyes couldn't hide their ecstasy at this new young food that they had been given. From their mouths, which protruded countless ugly teeth, saliva, or maybe the traces of meat and wine that they had just eaten dribbled down. As the piece of furniture let out a wild scream, it retreated, still sitting on its backside. But the circle of goat nobles was closing in. And the piece of furniture looked at the witch's face. It stared at her face one final time, believing that because it had submitted to the witch, she would show it some mercy. There was nothing but scorn on the witch's face, and she wasn't even facing it anymore. The witch went off to greet an honored guest with whom she had crossed gazes. Goat nobles looked down upon the furniture. They were in fact waiting. Just like how one must remove the cork in order to drink champagne. Before bringing the offering served at the banquet to their mouths, they were waiting for just one of those. Of course, the furniture didn't know what that was. It would come out of his mouth all by itself. In the same way there was always a pop when the cork is removed, it too would certainly leave his mouth. A scream. It was a sign that the modest banquet at which he was to be served had begun. And Maria was like, "Don't worry, Battler, it'll be fine." Gapu Pog Yuguki Guki Boryu. Wise words. Yes, you can quote that because I want to see, without you looking at the subtitles, I want to see what you type. By now, the rose garden was a garden of roses and gold. A gold-colored garden where gold butterflies, gold fairies, gold lizards rampaged and flew about wildly.
Maria, hayaku!
I mean, I don't think anyone really knows. Holding onto the gun and the blanket wrapping the ingot, Rosa ran at speed Maria couldn't catch up with, sometimes pausing to call out at Maria to run faster. Therefore, she saw it every time. She saw the golden pursuers chasing them from the mansion. The massive gold butterflies is chasing after them like a massive crawling hand. A horrifyingly strange-looking shadowy figures with goat heads were chasing after them. There was no need for her to strain her eyes, because those blazing pupils told her what would happen if she was captured. I wasn't expecting this whole, like, epilogue. So I don't think we're getting to the tea parties tonight. Maria tripped over. Rosa, ashamed that for just an instant she had entertained thoughts of abandoning her daughter and running away, kicked back against the ground and instantly reversed direction. I mean, as Rosa's own child tried to stand, the goat head that had sprinted over to get the first bite grabbed a fistful of her hair and pulled her up from the back. Rosa rammed into the goat head with her shoulders, spun, bashed the back of her elbow into the goat's jaw and buried her knee into its protruding chest. As she thrust the barrel of the gun inside the goat's head's mouth, as it doubled over from the pain in its gut. Yes, you did fix it. The blast from the .45 caliber long Colt bullet exploded inside the goat head's throat. As its medulla oblongata was instantly pulverized, the goat head couldn't understand. It thought that women were like already opened wine bottles. It thought that they were wine bottles and that turning them upside down would immediately cause their deep red contents to come out. Released, Maria flung her arms around Rosa. But the pursuers were still coming. They could see the giant goat heads who had given up pretending to be human running towards them from across the rose bushes. Rosa spilled several extra bullets which had been in the pocket of her coat all over the place and told Maria to pick them up.
Maria, ママがもし倒れたらあなたは走り海岸へ行くの。そして泳いで泳いで泳ぎなさい。この島のどこにも生き延びることのできる場所はない。やだ、ママと一緒。
Rosa's gun roared 4 times, but even though she really did land 4 shots in the chest of the massive approaching goat, it didn't even flinch. The goat ran with a violent vigor as though it planned to crush Rosa and Marie with its massive body. Rosa grasped the blanket with the ingot in both hands, and she herself sprinted up the goat, dragging the ingot along behind her, without even an ounce of fear of that strange-looking giant. It's to protect my daughter, I will overcome even hell. Rosa's roar, the goat head's roar, the terribly heavy ingot, after picking up a terrible centrifugal force and speed, slammed in the goat head's cranium. Rosa pulled a fountain pen from her pocket. She held it crooked. She placed it in her palm, in the gap between the middle finger and the ring finger so that it stuck out when she made a fist, almost like it was a stinger growing out. She jabbed that stinger into the left eye of the goat head, and its head toppled forward. To the goat head's roar, a scream, but Rosa's roar was different. She pulled back her fist and slammed it into the fountain pen that was still sticking into the goat head's eye. The pointed tip was gouged destructively into the depths of its head. As I grabbed the gun Maria had thrown, I finally heard the thunderous crash of the giants tumbling to earth. This is episode 2. But at the same time, I saw the goat head pursuers on the other side of the rose bushes increase in number. I've gained some distance, more than enough now. Holding onto the gun and the blanket wrapped around the ingot, I once again ran with Maria. Why am I running with the gun in my right hand and the gold in my left? Why don't I free one hand and grasp Maria's hand? I can't let go of the gun that protects my body, and I can't let go of the gold that protects my future. And my cat is walking in front, so I can't read. And yet I would let go of the hand of my daughter, who is my very future. Run, run, run. She got out of the rose garden and began to run down the staircase through the grove of trees. But Rosa knew. The path through the grove was only turning and twisting many times to make it seem long. She tore straight through it. She'd always played here since she was a kid, so she knew. To the beach, to the beach, to the sea, to the sea, to the sea, and after reaching the sea, nothing to do but swim, swim, swim. If Maria can't swim, I'll carry her as I swim. There's nothing but death on this island. As she raced down the stairs, she took a bad step. A violent pain ran up her left ankle and her mind went completely blank. Rosa fell down several stairs and stared in shock at her ankle, which was bent at an odd angle. And the blanket with the ingot wasn't there. She had let go of it the instant she fell, and it had disappeared somewhere into the darkness. Only the gun was left. The tremors of the earth were getting closer. It was only a matter of time before the goat heads flooded in. She didn't want to imagine how many there would be, or how strange they would look. The lightly dancing gold pursuers arrived. The gold butterflies surrounded Rosa and Maria, sparkling and clamoring as though saying, "The prize is here, the prize is here." Rosa couldn't even try to get up. The violent pain from her broken ankle was so great that she couldn't ignore it, even in her last moments. What am I doing? I had the gold. It would have been worth several million yen. Might have been able to start over with that, and yet I fell. I lost it. And that's not all. My own life is in danger, and even Maria's life is in danger. What has my life been? I was born in an incomprehensible house, with an irritating older brother and sister since the day I was born. What did I do? No matter what I did or didn't do, I was always in trouble and bullied and made fun of. What has my life been? The roar inside Rose's heart shriveled away and disappeared. Disappeared when she listened to Maria's crying voice as her daughter sobbed and clung to her.
マリア、ママ、ちょっと用事を思い出したの。先に行っててちょうだい。ママと一緒がいい。ママが死んじゃ嫌だ。マリアはこんな悪いママでもママと一緒がいいと言ってくれるの。ママと一緒がいい。ママと一緒がいい。あなたのことを一番にしているように見せて、いつもあなたのことを後回しにしてきた。運動会に行った、授業参観に行った。でもいつもママは世間体のことばかりで、あなたがこんなママとでもあなたは一緒にいたいというの。こんな悪いママなのに。ねえママ、知ってる？世界にママは一人しかいないんだよ。いいママも悪いママもいない。ただママが一人いるだけなんだから。マリアは世界でたった一人ママがいてくれればいい。そしてママにとってたった一人のマリアになりたいの。機嫌が良くて甘やかしたいマリアと、邪魔だからいてほしくないマリアは別人じゃないの。マリアもたった一人のマリアなの。だから怖いママも優しいママも一緒。マリアにはたった一人のママなの。私はなんてバカだった。黄金なんかいらなかった。ただあなただけの手を引いていればよかった。私はなんてバカだ。
The shadow of the goats covered the sky even more than the trees of the forest. Their roars blotted out the world with fear. Rosa still hugging Maria, readied her gun with one hand. Might be a suicide warning coming up.
ずっと一緒よ。ママが迷わないようにずっと一緒に。すぐに会えるよ。ずっと一緒だよ。黄金鏡で会えるよ。そしたら一緒に遊ぶの。狼と羊のパズルで遊ぶの。ママはまだ
1問しか解いてないけどマリアは全部解いちゃったんだよ。だからマリアが出題してあげる。
She bought that as a birthday present and then hadn't played with it with Maria after that night. Yes, let's play together.
約束する。
Oh, she's saying that. Those eyes, sparkling like red hot lava, looked like a group of fireflies. The ants closed in and attacked.
怖いよ。マリアが込めてくれた銃弾を食らいたいやつから前へ出ろよ。うわ
Thank you for that, Beardy. Okay, they're just going out swinging. And then none were left alive. Maria and Rosa did get eaten, so if you were hoping for that, I think that happened. I believe that is the end of chapter 2, minus the T parts. Got some trophies. Oh, we got a gift. That's nice. So we do have a new tea party, and I'm sure we'll have a new unhuman tea party. However, I do have to get going, so we will have to have a tea party at the start of next time. I haven't quite decided what we're going to do, because I think I do want to take a bit of a break from Umineko. So it does get to be a lot, and there's 8 of it. So I think we'll take a small break and play some other games for a few streams. So keep an eye on that coming in soon. But yeah, until next time, everyone, take care, stay safe, and I will see you all again next time. Bye for now.